Hello, candle lovers! Thank you so much for tuning in to me today. My name is Greg, and this is all Aboot candles. Happy Sunday, everyone. I know it has been a hot minute. I'm gonna give you guys a life update and a channel update towards the end of this video and try to justify my absence to you. I've missed you guys so much. Get in the comment section immediately and let me know how you're doing, what you've been up to, what you've been burning recently. We have so much to talk about and so much to catch up on. If you're new to my channel, every Sunday I like to do the weekly wax wrap up, and this is when I go through all of the candles that I finished burning this week, talk a little bit about how they smelled, how they performed, all of that good stuff. At the end of the candles, I usually get into some candle company news. This week we're going to be talking a bit about Bath & Body Works and Goose Creek. I'm going to fill you guys in on my travels. I was in England and I went to the Lady Gaga concert. It was amazing. Gonna answer some burning questions. You guys have been sending in a couple burning questions recently, so we're gonna have a little mini burning questions segment towards the end of this video. And also we need to do a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City recap. I know that not all of this stuff is going to appeal to everybody, so I do mark all of my videos with chapters, so feel free to skip around to whatever parts of this video are the most interesting to you. This is not school. This is an extracurricular activity. Let's get to business first, because I've got quite a few candles to talk to you guys about. I went through 2, 4, 6, 8, like 13 candles in the last 2 weeks, and some really notable ones too. So let's just get right into it. I finished burning Evil Queen from Bath & Body Works, the Disney villains sort of collaboration here. I ended up really liking this fragrance. I thought that the packaging on this candle was okay. My main note is that I want for the hands and the poison apple in the middle of this to be a little bit bigger to sort of balance out the like giant evil mirrors on either side of it. Do you know what I mean? But overall, I thought this candle looked really good, and it actually looked really stunning when it was burning as well. We've got a quote-unquote fancy lid here. It's like a holographic poison apple that isn't actually doing that great of a job. It doesn't really do that great of a job at holographing. not as well as the Maleficent candle did. I don't know, the fancy lid just doesn't really appeal to me that much. And it's also like the same cutout that they used on the lid for Maleficent and also on the lid for the Candy Apple Cauldron candle from last Halloween. A little bit lazy in my opinion, but I actually thought this was a fabulous fragrance and a fabulous candle. I really enjoyed it. The scent notes on it are dark red apple, vanilla suede, and wicked pear, and I think that it does a really great job of balancing the apple note and the pear note. I'm not a big fan of apple fragrances, but this one I actually really got behind, and I think that it's that sort of the stone fruit component in there that makes it so good and so juicy for me. It definitely had a very perfumey vibe, and of course they released fragrances that would work well as everything, you know, diamond shimmer mists, fine fragrance mists, you know, ultimate hydration body cream. Like, these things came out in every single format. I know a lot of us were hoping for like Cruella de Vil and you know, Ursula and like some interesting Disney villains, but ultimately Bath & Body Works had to go with the Disney villains that are like tall, pretty, beautiful women that probably would be wearing perfume, you know? And this is a fairly perfumey fragrance, but I actually thought it was really quite lovely and nicely balanced. I'd say overall, it's an apple fragrance, but it's got a nice sort of musky component to it, and it's balanced out nicely with that stone fruity sort of pear note, and it's definitely got a little bit of a nice kind of juicy vibe to it, and I like the apple note. There is definitely a bit of a kind of suede vanilla component happening in here as well. I mean, it definitely smells like body care, but I still really enjoyed the fragrance. And the candle burned extremely well. I have noticed that the Bath and Body Works collaboration candles have all been really, really good burners. I mean, think about everything from Bridgerton, Stranger Things, Emily in Paris, the Disney princess candles. All of the candles have burned really, really nicely. I think they've put a little bit more soy into their soy paraffin blend when they're doing the collaboration candles, because they want to make sure that these products aren't getting like lots of terrible, like dirty burn reviews. They all have white wax, and so they don't end up like dudding out or having burn issues. And yeah, this one was the same. I burned it all the way down until I could see the wick nickels. I maybe let that last burn go off a little bit too long, which is why you see just a little bit of dark, swirly murkiness at the very end there. But for the most part, it was a beautiful, clean burn from top to bottom, never dudding out or anything like that. And the strength and throw was acceptable. I'd say that in my more open space, it was getting to like a 6. Definitely had a presence to it. It was very noticeable. I did have it in the bedroom for a little while, and I'd say in there it was getting up to maybe like a 6.5. You know what? Maybe almost a 7. I was pretty impressed with the strength and throw from this one. That particularly the fruity note, like the apple and the pear in this fragrance really did manage to travel and project. So no major complaints about strength and throw. I did also burn the single wick Evil Queen candle. I thought that this one looked really nice as well. And the Evil Queen single wick, you know, it did all right. I burned it by itself in my small bathroom in a hurricane for a little while. And so in a smaller space in a hurricane, it was totally noticeable. Probably got up to like a 5.5 or a 6. I would never try burning a single wick candle from Bath and Body Works in my more open space, because unless I'm using it just for like ambience, like, you know, the fragrance definitely gets lost in my more open area. But I did burn it a couple of times in my more open space with the other Evil Queen candle. I'm not sure if it really increased the overall strength and throw all that much, but this was a really pretty candle. I enjoyed burning it. I always like the way that single wick candles from Bath and Body Works burn, as long as they don't have colored wax on them. If they have really dark wax on them, you do get tunneling issues with single wicks from BBW, but this one was beautiful. I burned it all the way down until there was nothing left. Look at how clean and white that wax is. It did well in a hurricane in a small space, so I have no complaints about that. I really ended up enjoying this fragrance. And I did repurchase it because these candles went on 75% off, which is wild, you know? It's wild to think that there were people paying. In Canada here, they were like $43 when they first came out. I think I ended up paying like $14 or $15 for it eventually, like a week or two in when there was a sale. And I did repurchase it because it was like 75% off. It was like $9 or $10. Yeah, I liked Evil Queen from Bath and Body Works. I don't think that the Disney Villains collection was a total disaster. I don't think it was nearly as popular as Bath and Body Works wanted it to be, because as of now, they are still clearancing off 75% off all the Disney Villains stuff in my stores, and that includes like the big like $100 castles and shadow boxes and body care trays. Like, they don't seem to be able to get rid of this stuff. I actually enjoyed both of the fragrances. However, the only products that I've purchased have been the candles, you know? Anyways, let's move on. I also finished up a strawberry strudel from Goose Creek, and this came out in a gourmand collection with like the first big wave of fall candles that we got from Bath and Body Works this year. This was the only like new fragrance in that gourmand collection. We had kind of a cute lid on this one as well. We also had autumn chai and blueberry maple pancakes and a whole bunch of gourmands in this collection. Strawberry Strudel was a new fragrance, so I wanted to give it a try, and I actually ended up really enjoying it. The scent notes on it are fresh strawberry jam, flaky puff pastry, and sweet vanilla icing. I think that this fragrance is way better than that strawberry pound cake candle that we have on the floor, every single day of the year for the last 10 years. I think that this is a far superior fragrance, a much more lovely and soft, and it's not quite as sweet as strawberry pound cake is. To me, it has a little bit of a cheesecakey vibe. Like if I was to smell this candle without knowing what it was called, my mind wouldn't go to strudel. My mind would probably go to like strawberry cheesecake, because I really do pick up on a lactonic vibe in this candle. Not a sour lactonic vibe, but just sort of a nice kind of creaminess. There is also definitely a little bit of a starchy, like bakery component in this fragrance as well, but it's not super overpowering, which I enjoy. And also, I thought the strawberry note in this fragrance was really quite lovely. It's not like a super fresh or natural smelling strawberry. It definitely has more of like a strawberry jam type of vibe to it. But I thought it was balanced really nicely with the strawberry, a little bit of a lactonic note, a little bit of like a bakery component, and a nice sort of smooth vanilla component in here as well. Yeah, I ended up enjoying this candle a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I did actually repurchase it. This did have colored wax on it. I'm colorblind, folks, and so if you're new to my channel, sometimes I'll just take a guess at what the colors of wax are, and sometimes I'll just be like, I'm not too sure what this was. It has become a little bit discolored. We had thick ropey wicks on this candle, and it did get a little bit discolored towards the bottom, but for the most part, it was a really nice clean burn. It did have a little bit of a dud out situation, but nothing serious. Some of the burns definitely weren't as strong as others, but for the most part, it did really okay, and I have no complaints about it. I'd say the strength and throw on this one was pretty reasonable. Probably a 6 in my more open space, definitely noticeable. I did have it in the bedroom for a while where we were getting to maybe a 6.5, maybe even a 7, and this is also this to me is very reminiscent of just a very classic, well-rounded, like fruity bakery fragrance from Bath and Body Works that they do so well. They've been giving us some weird ones lately. Like, remember that cherry blossom pound cake candle that we were all excited it was going to be this fabulous like bakery gourmand, and then it ended up being super perfumey? They've been doing kind of weird stuff like that lately, but this was just a really straightforward, tasty, strawberry gourmand fragrance, and it's not exactly the kind of fragrance that I reach for all the time, but once in a while I really like one. I ended up repurchasing this. Yeah, I liked Strawberry Strudel. I think that this was a success for them. And I did notice that out of that collection, the Strawberry Strudel really flew off the shelves. If you didn't get it within the first couple of weeks or the first month, at least at my stores, they had leftovers from everything else in that collection except for the Strawberry Strudel. So I do feel like it was quite popular, and maybe we'll see it again sometime. I also finished up Pumpkin S'mores from Bath and Body Works. I really wasn't a fan of the packaging on this collection. Again, this was sort of the first wave of fall candles, and they were giving us serious like camping moments with the first couple collections that they gave us. Not exactly my favorite packaging. This came out for the first time last year, and I wasn't going to purchase it. But then when it went on sale, a really good sale, I did end up getting it, and I ended up really enjoying it because it's not too sweet. The scent notes on Pumpkin S'mores are roasted marshmallow, melted chocolate, and pumpkin graham cracker. And yeah, the thing that I liked about this fragrance, for a gourmand fragrance that is gonna be s'mores, it wasn't as sweet as I was worried it was gonna be. And there's a real emphasis on like that sort of toasted, kind of crunchy, like graham cracker note. It's actually a much lower ranging fragrance than I was expecting it to be. And you only get a little bit of the chocolate in there and a little bit of the marshmallow component. The marshmallow component for me in this comes across more as like a vanilla component. But first and foremost to me, what I get is like a toasted, like crunchy graham cracker note. And it's got a sweetness to it, but it's definitely not like overly saccharine or anything. Yeah, I really ended up enjoying pumpkin s'mores, to be honest, you guys. And I repurchased it this year, and I'll probably get another one at some point. It burned all right. I think that the first burn on it was a little bit of a struggle. And then there were some other burns around here that were also struggling a little bit. I did end up getting through it and burning it all the way down until I could see the wick nickels. You can see a little bit of discoloration at the end of the wax there. And I think it's because some of the burns were a little bit of a struggle bus, and so it would discolor the wax a little bit. But the strength and throw was pretty good. That sort of dark, sort of roasted graham cracker note really, really traveled. I'd say in my more open space, this was getting up to like a 6.5, maybe a 7. Never put it in a bedroom or a bathroom because that's not really my vibe for a fragrance like this. But yeah, it was definitely noticeable and had a decent amount of presence to it. So no complaints. If you like fragrances like this, I have no reason to not recommend it to you. And it will be a repurchase for me. Okay, I also finished up, ooh, this candle, she is dirty. Oof. Just let me get her ready for the camera. You know when you're like trimming your wicks and you get a little bit of that blackness on your fingers and then you're handling your candles and it just sort of accumulates there? I thought that this collection was beautiful. This collection also had Farmhouse Pumpkin and Spice, which I'm burning for the first time right now, and I am loving it. Honeycrisp Hayride was okay. Honestly though, I thought that the packaging on this collection was just beautiful. I mean, this is Bath & Body Works just doing the type of wraparounds that they really, really excel at. This candle also just looked gorgeous when it was burning, and we had a cute green lid on here. The scent notes on Honeycrisp Hayride are Beauty Fall Weekend. It says, I can't stand corny stuff like this. It says Beauty Fall Weekend full of Honeycrisp apples and crisp autumn leaves. So that really doesn't give us anything. Beauty Fall Weekend full of Honeycrisp apples and crisp autumn leaves. I get an apple note in there that isn't too sweet. I also get the leaves fragrance from Bath & Body Works. I get slight vibes of that as well. There is sort of a fresh, airy, outdoorsy component to this fragrance. Predominantly, this is an apple fragrance. And I wasn't going to purchase it, to be honest with you. But then at the last minute, during a really good sale, I was like, you know what? I've never burned this before. Let me give it a try. Maybe it's amazing when it's being burnt. I thought it was okay. I mean, we get so many apple fragrances in fall that it does start to get hard to, differentiate between some of them. My favorite apple fragrance from Bath & Body Works is probably Mahogany Apple, because it's kind of like this dark, like rich, woodsy apple. This is a very light, bright, airy, outdoorsy fragrance. And the apple note is, I'd say it's semi-sweet, that sort of airy. Maybe there's just like a touch of a leafy eucalyptus in this fragrance. Not like a minty, like mentholated fragrance, but there's something in here kind of giving it that sort of chilly, outdoorsy vibe. And I'm wondering if it might not be just a little bit of like a leafy eucalyptus note. I ended up enjoying it. I mean, honestly, this isn't going to be a repurchase for me, but I really do like to try just about anything once, and so I gave it a go. The burn on this was okay. I burned it all the way down until I could see the wick nickels. I do think I might have let this one burn a little bit longer than I should have as well. That's a bad habit of mine. I thought it was a pretty nice clean burn for the most part, but we do have a little bit of discoloration happening at the end there, and I think that was my fault. I've got to say, I think Bath & Body Works candles have been burning really beautifully lately. You know, like the biggest problems I usually run into are dud-out situations on their candles that have colored wax, but for the most part, I think their candles have been burning really nicely and cleanly. Yeah, I'd say that the strength and throw on this was, in my more open space, maybe like a 5.5. It wasn't great. You know what I'm burning right now that I love though is that autumn candle. That autumn candle is also an apple fragrance, but it is lovely and it is performing so well. And so as opposed to recommending something like Honeycrisp Apple, I say go out and get yourself that autumn candle if it's still on the floor, because I'm burning that right now and it's doing beautifully. I'd say that the strength and throw on this maybe maxed out for me at like a 5.5 in my more open space. I never put it in the bedroom or anything. It was kind of just sort of a light, kind of run-of-the-mill apple fragrance as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, nothing to write home about, not a repurchase for me, but I didn't mind it. I also finished burning Honey Wildflower from Bath & Body Works. I ended up actually really liking the packaging on this candle because I thought it looked really, really pretty when it was burning. We did have colored wax on this one. I burned this candle for the first time last year, and I don't remember being like super impressed with it, but when I was smelling it in the store, and you know, it was like the beginning of autumn and I was excited to be getting some fall fragrances. When I was smelling it in the store, I was like, you know what, I think I want to give it another go. It's all right. I think that it makes for a nice autumnal floral fragrance. The scent notes on it are crisp pear, fresh wildflowers, and sweet honey. It's the pear and the honey in here that I think I'm enjoying so much. It's actually really nicely balanced. You definitely pick up on all three of those things, the wildflower, the pear, the honey. It's got sort of a nice, smooth lightness to it. It's really lovely. And also, it triggers a scent memory for me. My family has a place, my mom and my dad have a place out sort of north of here at a lake called Pine Lake, and I sort of grew up spending my summers there, and there were like considerable amounts of like wildflower fields that I'd go exploring in when I was a child during the summertime, and something about this fragrance really reminds me of that. Reminds me of like being outdoors and like catching frogs out at the lake and smelling all of the different flowers. They had lots of wildflowers and Saskatoon berries and stuff like that out there. And something about this fragrance really does trigger that sort of outdoorsy childhood memory for me, which I enjoy. Yeah, I thought this candle burned all right. This had colored wax on it, but it actually burned really quite well. Let's play Guess the Color, Greg. Guess the color, colorblind Greg. I think this is purple. I think this is a light purple wax. It burned really nicely considering we had colored wax on here. Got a little bit weird towards the end. I don't remember it ever really dudding out or giving me issues, but at the end here, it did start to get a little bit swirly and murky, and so I called it a day a little bit earlier than I usually would. The strength and throw was not great, however. It got fairly lost in my more open space. I'd say maybe like a 5. A 5 for me is like a bare minimum presence in a space. You know, if you're new to my channel, the way that I rate strength and throw is I always say what kind of space it was in. And if in that space I could like minimally detect it overall, I give it a 5. But then if you start having to get really close to the candle to be able to smell it, it goes below a 5. And so if you need to be about 4 feet away to smell it, I'll give it a 4. If you need to be about 2 feet away to be able to smell it, I give it a 2. If you need to be basically going like this, I give it a 1. So I'd say that this had, I could walk into my more open space and I could just tell that it was there. So I'd give it a 5. I actually put this in the bedroom for quite a while, and in there it got up to maybe a 6. I also burned this in the bathroom for a bit. In the bathroom, it definitely got up to a solid 6. Not great strength and throw, but also, if you put it into a smaller space, I'd say that it wasn't terrible. Something about this fragrance, though, I actually really like, and I think this will be a repurchase for me if it does come out again next year. I found myself reaching for it. I thought it made for a pretty nice fragrance in the bedroom or in the bathroom, so I didn't have a problem putting it in there. Yeah, Honey Wildflower. Once again, nothing spectacular, but I really thought it's actually a very lovely fragrance. Okay, moving on. White Pumpkin and Oakwood from Bath & Body Works. This came out in the fall neutrals line this year. I do tend to gravitate towards the candles that come out in this neutrals packaging. Not only do they tend to put fragrances in the neutrals collection that I prefer, but I also really do prefer the look and the vibe of just a very simplistic contemporary candle. I wasn't thrilled with the way that they did the labels on them this time. I feel like those vertical lines going through it are a little bit too bold, and the font is a little bit, I don't know, just something about the label doesn't really jive for me. And like I said, those vertical lines almost make the bottom of the label kind of hard to read, but I really like this fragrance. I'd say this is one of my favorite pumpkin fragrances from Bath & Body Works. My favorite pumpkin fragrances from Bath & Body Works are probably Pumpkin Bonfire and Pumpkin Carving, and I like White Pumpkin and Oakwood too, although I don't think we get a tremendous amount of pumpkin in here. The scent notes are fresh picked white pumpkin, smooth sandalwood, and spiced pear. Those scent notes are very peculiar to me. I don't pick up on the pear. Whenever Bath & Body Works says white pumpkin, what they give us is a chai fragrance. This is first and foremost to me like a woodsy chai fragrance. Like that straight up white pumpkin candle from BBW just smells like chai. It just smells like a blend of chai spices. And this smells like that candle with sort of a deep woodsiness added to it that I really like. I think it's a nice fragrance. I think there's quite a lot of a depth and a richness in this fragrance that I really appreciate. And I love the woodsiness in the base of it. It's not a ton of woodsiness, but it's definitely there. It's basically a woodsy chai fragrance, like I just said. But it's a lower ranging fragrance. It's deep, it's strong, it performed really well. I burned this candle all the way down till the whole thing had liquefied. I did notice that it got a little bit discolored, not just at the very bottom here. It was a little bit of a dirty burn happening at one point, and I hadn't even been letting it burn for that long, but the wax definitely started getting a bit discolored around the halfway mark for sure. However, it had good strength and throw. It wasn't terrible. Overall, I'd say it was really acceptable. In my more open space, this is getting up to like a 6.5, maybe even a 7. I did burn it in the bedroom for a little while. Definitely a solid 7 in the bedroom for sure. Yeah, definitely a noticeable fragrance. I like this one. This would be a repurchase for me and a recommendation for you if you're into fragrances like that. I like White Pumpkin and Oakwood. Okay, I also finished up a coffee and whiskey from Bath and Body Works. I only have like 2 more Bath and Body Works candles here, and then we're gonna get into some Goose Creek candles. I don't have any Yankee candles to share this week. I had quite a few Yankee candles in my last couple weekly wax wrap-ups. I haven't purchased any like fall or autumnal Yankee candles lately. I am burning, what is it? Oh my gosh, what's it called? From Homeworx, I'm burning that woodsy candle. It's like Forbidden Woods or Dark Woods or something. I'll put a picture of it up here. I can't remember what it's called. It's got like this sort of woodsy, like deep berry thing going on. I am loving this candle right now. Oh my goodness. And it's got good strength and throw too. Go Homeworx. Hopefully I'll share that candle with you in the next weekly wax wrap up. Anyways, coffee and whiskey from the same neutrals collection, the fall neutrals collection of this year. Once again, with the label that I'm not obsessed with, but I really do enjoy the color of this vessel and the cream lid. I love coffee and whiskey. However, this is one of those fragrances from Bath and Body Works. I swear they tinker with it just a little bit every single time that they release it. And what we've ended up with now, I think, is actually substantially different from coffee and whiskey when it first came out. I think we're getting a little bit more of the coffee note. I feel like they've amplified the coffee note in this fragrance just a little bit every single time it comes out. The scent notes on here are bold Irish whiskey, splash of vanilla, and a hint of coffee. It does have a little bit of a boozy component to it, but I've always said that this is a fairly conceptual candle with a lot of amber. I pick up on a tremendous amount of amber in this fragrance. I mean, they released this fragrance in like men's body care and cologne and everything. I've used the body wash before. I like the body wash, but I'm not convinced it's a fragrance that I'd want to walk around smelling like. You know what I mean? I'd say that predominantly you get the coffee note. There is definitely a strong coffee vibe in here, a little bit of a boozy component, and quite a bit of amber and vanilla. It's really nice. It's deep, it's rich, it's not super complex, but I really enjoy this fragrance. I do think that we got even more coffee in this version than we did on the last version. It's nice. I like this one. I burned it all the way down until there was nothing left. Pretty nice, clean burn for the most part. No complaints. It had the thin core wicks on it. You really had to keep your eye on this one. I do remember almost every time that I went to check on it, I was like, whoof, time to call it a day and blow it out. Like those thin core wicks on this candle would really get a flame in, and you know, you'd have like a deep, even wax pool in no time. I feel like I had to limit the burn times on this to like an hour and a half, like 2 hours max. I feel like pretty much as soon as I'd go check on it, it was already kind of time to blow it out and call it a day. Good strength and throw on this one though. I'd say that this was getting up to like a 7 in my more open space, easily. I think that this one was a little bit stronger than the last iteration of coffee and whiskey that I burned. However, that might just be because the wicks on this were so strong. Like you had deep, even wax pools in no time. And the downside of that is that you really couldn't burn it for very long, but it was a real powerhouse when it was going. I'd say, yeah, in my more open space, this got up to a 7. I did put it in the bedroom for a little while. I'd say it was getting up 7.5 or an 8 in the bedroom for sure. So yeah, I'm sure I'll repurchase this candle again, and I would recommend it to you, provided that it's the kind of fragrance you like. The good thing about Bath & Body Works is you can go into the store and smell it first. I don't think this is a fragrance for everybody, but I really do like it. Yeah, and I will repurchase that at some point in the future, I'm sure. Okay, Marshmallow Fireside. So far this fall, I have finished up 3 versions of Marshmallow Fireside. I love Marshmallow Fireside, you guys. I always have. I mean, for years and years and years now. I don't even know if I remember a time when Marshmallow Fireside wasn't around. It hasn't always been around, but I don't remember a time when Marshmallow Fireside wasn't around. I've got two versions of it that came out this year, which were both weaker than this version. This was an excellent Marshmallow Fireside. When did this one come out? Where's that little code you're looking for? This candle was poured in 2022. And it was fantastic. Not only do I like the way that this version of Marshmallow Fireside looks the most, I like the way that it looked when it was burning. I just thought it was lovely, sort of simplistic packaging, plain boring lid. But this particular 2022 version of Marshmallow Fireside is the strongest Marshmallow Fireside that we've had for a while before, or we've had ever since. Like this one, and this is my last one too. This one was probably getting up to like a 7 or a 7.5 in my more open space for strength and throw. The scent notes on here are toasted marshmallow, smoldering woods, and fire roasted vanilla. Let's see if they've changed the scent notes over the years. They have. So they've added crystallized amber to the newer version. They both say toasted marshmallow, smoldering woods, fire roasted vanilla, but then the new version has a fourth scent note of crystallized amber. That's interesting. There is definitely, and always has been, an amber component to this fragrance. I just love it. It's a perfect balance of like sweetness, woodsiness, smokiness, the vanilla in here. Oh, I love Marshmallow Fireside. And even on cold, this one smells substantially stronger than the new versions do. And when this version came out, I took note of that immediately. As soon as I burned it, I thought, oh, this is stronger than Marshmallow Fireside has been for a hot minute. Let me pick up a bunch. So when these went on sale, I probably picked up like 7 or 8 of this version of Marshmallow Fireside. And now this is my last one. Now I'm just gonna be stuck with the weaker versions that we keep getting year after year. And oh my gosh, they're so noticeably weaker than this one. It's actually really bothering me. Anyways, I also finished up this version of Marshmallow Fireside released this year in the White Barn Core line. I like the packaging on this candle. And I also finished up this version, and I like the packaging on this version as well, from the same collection as that Honey Wildflower that I just talked about. This one didn't burn as well as this one. So if you're still thinking about purchasing a Marshmallow Fireside, I would reach for the White Barn version. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, but I think it's the wax that makes the difference here, because we had sort of a colored wax on this one and we had a white wax on this one. And this one burned pretty well. As you can see, I burned it all the way down to the bottom. Like there's nothing left in there. I think that when I moved this candle a little while after I had blown it out, the wax kind of coated the edges of it there. But I burned this down till there was nothing left. However, this one was definitely giving me some dudding out issues halfway through. This one was a really good burn from top to bottom. Like a really, really good burn. Never had issues with it at all. God, it's not as strong though. I'm telling you guys, I burned both of these candles in my more open space to get the same amount of strength and throw that I got from just burning this one by itself. I mean, come on, Bath & Body Works. Come on, Bath & Body Works. I need my Marshmallow Fireside to be like a 7 or a 7.5. I would say that this version, since it had more problematic burns on it, I'd say that this averaged down at like a 5.5 by itself. I'd say this averaged down at like a 5.5 or maybe a 6 for strength and throw. It was a little bit inconsistent because the burns weren't always great. This one was much more consistent. And this one by itself in my more open space was definitely hitting a 6, but I'd say that that's about it. When I was burning both of these together, like I'd have one on the coffee table and one like on the side table, maybe like 10 or 15 feet away from it. When I was burning both of these together, I was getting about a 7, maybe a 7.5 out of them. And I do usually buy 2 Marshmallow Firesides at once now because I really do want it to get to that 7 for strength and throw. I'm such a psychopath, you guys. Yeah, this one did better than this one. If you're still considering getting a Marshmallow Fireside this year, I would go for this white barn version. Maybe the packaging isn't quite as like fancy and whimsical as some of the other versions that we get, but this one definitely burned better for sure. I love Marshmallow Fireside. Of course I'm gonna repurchase it, but I'm really upset that I don't have any more of this one left. You know, I'm just gonna have to hope that they eventually increase the strength and throw on that one, or just keep buying 2 of them at a time. All right, let's move on to some Goose Creek candles. I mean, I bought so many fall Bath & Body Works candles this year. You guys saw my candle hauls. You saw my store walkthroughs. I've had a lot of Bath & Body Works candles to get through, but I also had some Goose Creek candles that I finished up this week that I really liked. Bonfire Leaves. This was a really good one. And I love the wraparound on this candle. I thought this candle looked gorgeous when it was burning. I really sort of love this painterly, like leafy motif on here. We had a black lid on this candle. I really liked Bonfire Leaves. The scent notes on it are autumn leaves, bonfire embers, and toasted marshmallow. I thought this was gonna be a little bit like Marshmallow Fireside because obviously I can't smell Goose Creek candles before I purchase them. So I really thought, based off of the scent notes, that this was gonna be kind of similar to Marshmallow Fireside. It absolutely is not. And in fact, I don't think that I pick up on that toasted marshmallow note at all. I really don't. I really don't pick up on toasted marshmallow in there. Predominantly what I'm getting is like a bonfire embers vibe, right? And the embers, like the embers in a campfire, you know how sometimes a campfire has that sort of kind of pungent, like herbaceous quality to it? That's what I pick up on here the most. It's mostly like a fireside, fireplace, smoky kind of candle, but that ember note has an almost like herby medicinal component to it. I also burned a candle this year from Goose Creek called Campsite Embers, which I did not enjoy nearly as much as Bonfire Embers, because this Campsite Embers candle really had that sort of herbaceous medicinal embers note, like really notched up, and it really overpowered everything. I think that this Bonfire Leaves fragrance is a little bit more palatable and well balanced while still giving a fairly significant kind of like smoky, woodsy bonfire vibe. And I really don't pick up much else from it, but it was nice. It was softer than that Campsite Embers candle. It really smelled like you were, you know, somewhere near a fireplace outdoors, right? Yeah, I liked Bonfire Leaves quite a bit, and the strength and throw on this candle was very good. I'd say that in my more open space, this was getting to like a 7.5 or an 8 for sure. I never put this into a smaller space. It was always in my more open area, definitely getting up to a 7.5 or an 8. I really enjoyed burning this candle in the evening. It really had that sort of like cozy campfire-y vibe to it, but also a little bit of a unique quality from sort of a vague herbaceousness. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. Bonfire Leaves from Goose Creek. Also from Goose Creek, I got this happy birthday candle, which is, I think that, oh, there's like nothing I think this is Buttercream Sprinkles. This is totally a repackage of Buttercream Sprinkles, aka White Christmas Cake, aka Happy Birthday. The reason why I bought this weird like Happy Birthday, it wasn't because I was gonna give it to somebody as a birthday present. I don't think any of my friends would really appreciate this fragrance. I love vanilla. If you guys know, if you're new to my channel, I will hoe myself out for a good vanilla candle. And this is a really lovely, like fluffy, marshmallowy vanilla fragrance. Yeah, fluffy vanilla cake, marshmallow cream, and sugar sprinkles. I didn't burn this one. This went under the heat lamp in my kitchen for about a week, and I've really sucked most of the fragrance out of it. It's a really super, super rich, cakey vanilla fragrance. I'd say the sweetness, it's a little bit more sweet than like medium sweetness. It's not like the sweetest, brightest vanilla fragrance I've ever smelled, but it's definitely on the sweeter side. But there's sort of a nice soft fluffiness to this fragrance that I really like. And I've burned Buttercream Sprinkles quite a few times before. Same with White Christmas Cake. They're all repackages of each other. The reason why I bought the Happy Birthday one was because it went on sale. It was like clearanced off for like $7 or $8 Canadian. And it's very rare here in Canada. It's very rare that we get Goose Creek even clearance prices below $10. And since I knew it was just going to be a repackage of Buttercream Sprinkles, I bought it with the intention of just putting it under the candle lamp in my kitchen for a while. The place where I melt candles the most is in my kitchen because I am never in my kitchen. I don't spend a lot of time in there, and so I can't, and I also have no sight lines into my kitchen really from the rest of my living space, and so I don't want to burn candles in there because I'm never really checking up on them. But I always have my candle lamp turned on in there. In fact, most of the time, my candle lamp is the only lighting that I use when I go into my kitchen because it's always on. And I really enjoy melting like gourmand fragrances in my kitchen because then maybe I can pretend that someone's actually using my oven to bake something. Yeah, no, I like this. This was an excellent melting candle for under the candle lamp. I'd say that the initial melts on it definitely got up to like a 7 or a 7.5. I'd say the kitchen is sort of a more medium-sized space. And you know how it is when you're melting something? You know, the first couple melts on it were very, 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 very strong. What I do is, and my candle lamp, by the way, I use a 50-watt bulb, and I will put it about an inch above the candle. And so my candle lamp does liquefy an entire candle. And what I'll do once in a while is I'll take my wick dipper and just sort of give it a little bit of a stir to make sure I'm getting all those fragrance oils out of it. And then the last stop is in the candle crock in the kitchen, and the candle crock really sucks the very last remaining fragrance out of here. So yeah, I'd say that, you know, it was like a 7.5 for strength and throw in there, and just a really nice, warm, fluffy, cakey vanilla fragrance. Yeah, that'll absolutely be a repurchase for me. I'll probably get one of those White Christmas Cake candles for Christmas time from Goose Creek. I also finished up Rainbow Cereal from Goose Creek. And this is kind of, I don't know, I kind of like the packaging on here. It's a little bit childish. What are those, Fruity Pebbles? I think those are sort of supposed to look like Fruity Pebbles, but I do love the like rainbow vibe of this candle. We had a white lid on there. The scent notes on this are crunchy cereal, sweet lime, sugar crystals, and a bowl of milk. And it 100% smells like Fruit Loops to me. I mean, if you were to put this candle under my nose without me having any idea what was going on, I would say, is it 1991? Because I think I'm about to eat a bowl of Fruit Loops. Oh my God, it's so Fruit Loopy. Not the type of fragrance that I would usually gravitate towards. Not gonna be a repurchase for me, but I am glad to have experienced it once because, man, Goose Creek did a very good job of replicating that Fruit Loop note in here. The scent notes, yeah, crunchy cereal, sweet lime, sugar crystals, and bowl of milk. They say all of that to say that they can't just put Fruit Loops on here. I'm kind of surprised that out of all, there's not really any fruit notes in here other than sweet lime. Lime, I'm not sure lime is really what I would say I pick up on the most. I'd say it's kind of like the crunchy berry Fruit Loopy vibe, you know? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to describe this fragrance other than saying it smells like a bowl of Fruit Loops. I kind of thought that maybe this was what Bath and Body Works was gonna give us with that like cereal soft milk, that cereal serve soft milk or whatever that candle was called. I kind of thought that was gonna be kind of a Fruit Loopy candle, and it wasn't, but this definitely is. And this candle burned and performed fabulously. Like, I burned it all the way down till there was nothing left. This is a very, very clean burning candle for Goose Creek. Look at how clean that wax at the bottom there still is. Never gave me any issues with dudding out. Obviously, Goose Creek, you need to keep your burn times minimum, like 2.5, 3 hours max, or else their candles really do start sooting and getting dirty and discolored. I'd say that I usually limit my Goose Creek burn times to like 2 hours, to be honest with you, which is plenty enough time for it to like pool out and really start projecting the fragrance. And this was just a great burn. And I'd say that the strength and throw was like a 7.5, like very, very noticeable. I can't say I was obsessed with my living space smelling like Fruit Loops, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun fragrance to experience, and I'll only experience it once. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And honestly, if you guys out there like candles like this, like a cereal vibe, milky, Fruit Loops, fruity pebbles, this is the best candle like that I've ever burned. So strong, so authentic smelling. Yeah. Fruit Loops. Who was that guy? The toucan. What was his name? Toucan Sam. I did love Fruit Loops when I was a child, but it was like a treat for us. You know, my mother would not buy like fun, sugary cereal very often, so it was like a big treat when she did. Also from Goose Creek, I finished off a peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter and jelly. I thought that this was a fun collection. This is a fun collection of gourmands, and I really like the sort of cartoony wraparound on here. A cute fragrance, cute candle, nothing too serious, guys, just some good old PB&J. The scent notes on here are creamy peanut butter, berry jelly, and toasted bread. And this was also a melter candle for me. Like I said, like gourmands melting in my kitchen is a thing that I do quite often. So I didn't burn this candle, I just melted the entire thing. And then it did end up in a candle crock. There's like no fragrance. The lid has way more fragrance on it than this wax does. I mean, I don't pick up on the bread in here. I don't pick up on like a starchy component. But I do pick up on the peanut butter and jelly. And, you know, I'm not gonna wax poetic on the complexities of some of these fragrances. This really just smells like peanut butter and jelly. I'd say that the jelly is probably a strawberry jelly, and the peanut butter is smooth, not crunchy. There's not like much of a textured component to this fragrance. It's a very smooth fragrance. And it really does smell like peanut butter and jelly. Although, I have to say, usually when I put a Goose Creek candle under a heat lamp, I'm like totally expecting at least like a 7 for strength and throw. This one wasn't that strong under there, to be honest with you. I'd say, you know, my kitchen, medium space under a heat lamp, it maxed down around a 6. Yeah, it maxed down around a 6. And so I do question if you would get much strength and throw out of this candle if you were actually burning it. But I'm still happy with like a 6 for strength and throw for a fragrance like this in my kitchen. Yeah. Kind of a fun one. Probably not going to be a repurchase for me, but once again, just like one of those candles that I think it's like fun to experience once. You know what I mean? Okay, one last candle left here. A single wick from Bath & Body Works that I love. This is the vanilla single wick from Bath & Body Works. It came out a while ago. When was this guy poured? This was poured in 2023. I loved this like black and gray single wick collection from Bath & Body Works so much. When semi-annual sale happened, I bought like 5 of each of them. There was vanilla. There was an amber candle that I loved. The orange blossom was lovely. The cypress one was lovely. I loved all of them, but nobody else seemed to love them. Nobody else seemed to like them. And so there were a ton left over at semi-annual sale, and I just swooped on in there and grabbed them all. I still have quite a few of these left in my collection, which I'm very happy about. And this is just a really lovely, simple vanilla fragrance. The scent notes are rich vanilla, fresh clove, and soft sandalwood. So it's not like a super straightforward, like cakey gourmand vanilla. It's kind of like a soft, woodsy, and slightly smoky vanilla. It says fresh clove in here. I can't say I'm picking up on the clove or like a spiciness or a funkiness. Definitely a woodsiness and maybe a little bit of a smokiness, actually. It's like a lovely woodsy, smoky vanilla. Oh, I love this one so much. Of course, you know, single wick. I only ever burned this in a hurricane, and I always burned it either in the bedroom or in the bathroom. I burned it in my small bathroom when I had company over for quite a while, and I'd say that under those conditions, hurricane, small bathroom, this got up to like a 5.5 for strength and throw. So you could go in there and definitely notice it, but it never became any sort of a powerhouse or anything. However, perfectly acceptable for a little single wick to throw into the bathroom. You know what I mean? And it's just such a lovely fragrance. I think I actually just enjoy like having this candle around and picking it up and smelling it on cold more than I do like actually burning it. I really love this one. Really good burn all the way down to the bottom. Even though the wax on here is colored and a little, it's gray, it never really, it didn't do any tunneling. There was a little bit of dragging, like as you can see the wax marks on the side of the jar there, but it never was like fully tunneling. It would pool out in a decent amount of time, and you could let it burn. One of the things I like about single wicks from Bath & Body Works is that, I mean, be careful, but I sometimes will let them burn for like 5-6 hours without really having any problems at all. So I do appreciate that. Yeah, that vanilla single wick from Bath & Body Works, definitely one of my favorites. Oof, holy smokes, quite a few candles to talk to you guys about this week. Obviously, you guys, I skipped my weekly wax wrap up last week. I just didn't have the time to do one. So I did accumulate quite a few candles to talk about. And I actually left some candles out of the weekly wax wrap up this week. And I'm going to roll them over into next week's weekly wax wrap up, or else this video is going to end up being like 3 hours long. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into a little bit of Bath & Body Works news. I haven't been into the store for a while now, but the last time I was in there, so much 75% off. It feels like we had a fall semi-annual sale this year. Everything Halloween, 75% off. Everything Disney Villains, 75% off, and then the first like waves of releases of fall candles, all of that stuff went down to 75% off too. Like I'm talking the collection that had pumpkin s'mores in it, the collection that had strawberry strudel in it, those all went down to 75% off. Really makes me wonder, like it doesn't look good when Bath and Body Works has to desperately clearance off that much stuff to make room for Christmas. Like it really felt like we had an October semi-annual sale. I'm all here for it. I'm very happy. I got to repurchase the Evil Queen. I repurchased quite a few things. I did an online order to get some of that 75% off action because I also had a $25 off 75 coupon. So I placed a huge order of dirt cheap candles and I'm happy about that. As far as new stuff goes though, we have seen a bunch of new Christmas candles rolling into the store. I haven't been in there for a while. I'm really hoping to get into Bath and Body Works this week at some point. I think the thing that I am most interested in checking out is the, what's it called? Sugared pine needles. I really want to check out sugared pine needles. I hope that I like that one. That's one of the only like new fragrances that I'm really excited to get into the store and check out. The scent notes on sugared pine needles are sweet pine sap, frosted eucalyptus, and warm spice. That sounds right up my alley. If you guys have been in the store and you've smelled this candle yet, or if you've started burning it yet, please hit me up in the comment section below and let me know what it's like. I'm hoping to get into the store pretty soon. Maybe I'll have a Bath and Body Works haul for us this week or on the weekend. Over on at Goose Creek, we've got a big clearance sale happening. They are clearancing off all of their summer and fall candles with some really good price points. Like I said, I got this happy birthday candle for like $7 or $8 Canadian. I think it was actually like $8.99 or something, but still, if you're into getting some off-season, deeply discounted candles, Goose Creek has it going on right now, and I'm suspecting that that sale will end today because it's Sunday. We also got some Christmas candles from Goose Creek. I believe they've put out 2 Christmas collections as I'm recording this so far, and last winter was my first winter burning Goose Creek, and I fell in love with their winter fragrances. Oh my goodness. Not the gourmand fragrances, but they put out some spectacular, like outdoorsy, foresty, trees, pine, eucalyptus. They put out some fabulous, like atmospheric winter candles last year that I really enjoyed. So I'm very excited to place a big Goose Creek Christmas order. I think I'm gonna wait until they put out 1 or 2 more collections, because you know what it's like over at Goose Creek. Like when they start rolling out a new season, they'll do like 1 collection and then maybe another collection, and then give us a couple of weeks and then do another collection and then another collection and then another collection. And so I think I'm gonna wait a couple more weeks to see if we get more before I pull the trigger and place my order, but there's definitely gonna be a big Goose Creek order happening for me soon. One of the fragrances that has come back this year that I fell in love with last year is Lavender Snowfall. Oh man, this was a fabulous, and I'm not big on like, you know, basically trying to give us a lavender fragrance in the middle of winter. I don't always fall for it, but I loved this Lavender Snowfall candle. It was fantastic. The scent notes, and this is what the packaging looks like this year. It looks beautiful. The scent notes on Lavender Snowfall are frosted lavender, cooling peppermint, fallen snow, and white woods. Ooh, I can't wait to get my hands on that. I only purchased 1 last year, and so this year I'm definitely going to be purchasing at least like 2 or 3 right off the bat because I love that candle, and oh my goodness, it was so strong too. One of the new fragrances that they have out right now that sounds interesting to me is called Cozy Home, and the scent notes on that one are warm woods, toasted coconut, soft cashmere, and creamy amber. I'm definitely interested in checking out this Cozy Home candle just because that sounds super interesting to me. Woods, toasted coconut, soft cashmere, and creamy amber. Yes, that is definitely gonna be in my order eventually as well. We also got Goose Creek's Harry Potter collaboration of candles. I think that the candles look great. A lot of the scent notes, a lot of those candles really smell like things that I would enjoy, and a lot of people do seem to be enjoying them, and I'm genuinely happy for that, and I appreciate the nostalgia and how much people love the Harry Potter franchise, but I personally will just never, ever, ever spend any of my money on anything Harry Potter related, and this isn't the time or place to get into all that. If you know, you know. Let me just say that I think it's extremely disappointing that the most villainous character that J.K. Rowling ever created ended up being herself. That's all I'm going to say about that. Kringle, Homeworx, Yankee, I'm not on top of the news right now, you guys. I am embarrassingly behind on catching up on all of the candle YouTube channels that I like to watch. So maybe I'll get into some news from those brands next week on my weekly wax wrap up. Life has just been very, very busy these days, you guys. I mean, work. I've gotten to a point in my career right now, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there can relate to this. There come at times points in your career where opportunities present themselves and you just have to seize them, you know, and sacrifices have to be made for that to happen. But I mean, I plan on hopefully retiring here in the next like 10 or 15 years and just putting on a big pair of sunglasses and a big caftan and a big hat and splitting my time between Palm Springs and Calgary. And that is the goal. And so, yeah, right now, my priorities in my life just have to be my partner, my family, my friends, my career. And as long as those things are all well taken care of, then I have time to make YouTube videos. I was obviously away for quite a while. I was in England to visit some family and some friends there. It was an absolutely fabulous trip. We had a spectacular time. We were in Hertfordshire, we were in Birmingham, Manchester, and London, and we went to see Lady Gaga at the O2 Arena, and oh my goodness. I mean, it really was one of the best shows that I've ever been to in my life. It was spectacular. The first time that I ever saw Lady Gaga live was in like 2008 or 2009, and she opened up for a band called the Pussycat Dolls. Do you guys remember the Pussycat Dolls? You better loosen up my buttons, babe, but you keep frontin'. So the first time I saw Lady Gaga was at a bar called Cowboys about a kilometer away from where I'm sitting right now, and she opened up for the Pussycat Dolls, and I mean, I've been in love ever since. She was wearing those glasses that she made out of like iPhones and had like the blonde wig with the severe blunt bang and like the hooded sort of Grace Jones look. I mean, I've been in love with her ever since, and I have never missed one of her tours ever. So I've seen every single tour that Lady Gaga has ever done, and I have to say, she really seems like she is at the height of her powers right now. Oh my goodness, the show was spectacular. It had a lot of the classic like Lady Gaga vibes, very like gothic and dark, but also lots of moments of like joyfulness as well. It was a spectacular show. Lady Gaga is always a great show live if you guys are looking to go see a concert. I mean, when she performs in smaller venues, she has a way of making it feel like a huge stadium, and when she performs in huge stadiums like the O2 Arena, she has an ability to make it feel like it's like this small, intimate concert. It was wonderful, and we made best friends with the gays that were sitting on either side of us and just danced the night away at the gay bar afterwards. Fabulous trip, fabulous concert. Can't say enough good things about Lady Gaga. Man, I love her. When I did get back to Calgary, things were busy busy. I had to catch up on work. I also went to go see Sarah McLachlan live here in Calgary at the Saddle Dome, and that was a spectacular show as well. I went with Steve. You guys know Steve. He says hi. We were actually just talking about hopefully really filming a video together soon. Hopefully my next Bath & Body Works haul, I'll have Steve here with me. We went to go see Sarah McLachlan, and she was fantastic. Talk about another woman just like getting better and better and better with age. Oh my goodness, she sounded phenomenal. And it was the 30th year anniversary of my favorite Sarah McLachlan album, Fumbling Towards Ecstasy. So she performed all of Fumbling Towards Ecstasy from start to finish, which is more than I could have ever asked for. It was everything that I hoped it would be. It was a wonderful, wonderful show. However, we were having some issues. Let's talk about concert etiquette for just one short second here. Because we made friends with these girls that were sitting beside us. And they were out for a good time. It was a group of 3 girls, and only one of them were Sarah McLachlan fans, all right? And so they spent a considerable amount of time during the show chit-chatting with each other, and that's not actually what bothered me. You know, we had made friends with each other. We were having a good time. When I am at a concert, I'm pretty good at being able to just like zone out on everything and just focus on the show and not letting the things around me bother me very much. However, there were some very stern lesbians in the front row ahead of us, and we had like really good floor seats, right? So for the most part, people are fairly well behaved, but these ladies in front of us were not happy with the way that the girls beside us were behaving, and so they turned around at one point and were like, "Are you guys ever gonna be quiet? Blah, 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 blah." And so we had to put up with this fight that was happening with the girls beside us and the women in front of us, and security came and eventually got involved, and eventually everyone kind of quieted down and enjoyed the show, which was much appreciated. But then on top of that, the people that were sitting behind us wanted to stand during the entire concert for some reason, which Sarah McLachlan is not exactly like, ooh, you're not exactly standing up and bouncing your tits and like, you know, it's Sarah McLachlan, right? And so it's one of those shows where you might stand up for a couple of the songs, but everyone's mostly seated. But the people that were behind us kept wanting to stand. And so since we were on the floor, all of the seats were like level with each other, right? So if one row stands up, all of the rows behind them have to stand up. And so the people behind us wanted to stand up and were getting into fights with the people behind them that didn't want to have to stand up. And so the people that were behind us or kept asking us to stand because we were like near the front of that section. And so if we stood up, that meant that they could stand up and everyone else behind them had to stand up. And so they kept tapping my friend David on the shoulder, being like, "You guys should stand." They were tapping me on the shoulder, like, "Let's stand up, you guys." And we're just like, maybe we'll stand up during Ice Cream. Maybe we'll stand up during Building a Mystery. We stood up during Fear, but we're not standing up during the entire concert. So then we had to put up with the people behind us arguing with the people behind them about whether we're going to be sitting or standing during this concert. I mean, could everybody just try to have some freaking manners and get along? For Christ's sake, Sarah McLachlan is up there and she's like, "I will remember you." And I could hear somebody saying, "Why can't everybody just shut up and behave?" I mean, it was a bit of a mess, but we ended up really enjoying ourselves and having a fabulous night. So Sarah McLachlan was great. Sarah McLachlan has a new album out right now, which is actually really, really, really good. And she also has a documentary out. If you're in the States, you can watch it on Disney+. If you're in Canada, I believe you can just watch it on YouTube. Yeah, I watched it on YouTube. Maybe in the States, you can just watch it on YouTube too. But it's a whole documentary about the Lilith Fair tour, which was a really big deal when it first happened, that Lilith Fair tour, because it was the first sort of like all-female tour that had really ever happened, and it was part of like the huge, like a big push of like the feminist movement in the 90s, and the documentary is absolutely wonderful. So if you're interested in any of that at all, I definitely recommend checking it out. I actually went to the last sort of official original Lilith Fair show long time ago when I was a teenager. I went to the last Lilith Fair show in Edmonton with my friend, and that was like, I was so young, that was like a big lie. Like, I think I told my parents I was staying at my friend's house for the weekend. My friend told his parents that they were staying at my place for the weekend, and then we got on a Greyhound bus and went up to Edmonton to see the last show of the Lilith Fair tour. And it really is one of the fondest concert memories that I have. I mean, just spectacular. So yeah, hey, Sarah McLachlan, guys, get into it. So that's all I have in terms of like life updates, channel updates. What's happening with the channel right now, you guys? I'm busy, and I really, really want to try to make sure I continue to post a weekly wax wrap up every Sunday. The thing that's actually really just fallen by the wayside are my candle reviews, you know, like my dedicated singular candle reviews. I used to be able to have the capacity in my weekdays to find time to film a review, edit it, post it. I used to put out a candle review every single weekday, and I just really can't be doing that right now. You know, it's not like I'm chained to my desk and working all the time, but there are other areas of my life that I need to be paying better attention to. And so what I hope for is that I'm always able to at least do a weekly wax wrap up and some sort of a video on Saturday, whether that is like a store walkthrough or a candle haul. I actually really want to do a hand soap empties video because my recycling bin of like hand soaps and body care products is starting to get pretty full. So I think I might do an empties video soon. But the thing that's really fallen by the wayside are my dedicated candle reviews, and I've decided that I just have to let that go for now. I'm sure that if there's a really great like new notable candle, if there's something that I really want to review, either because it was spectacular or it was terrible, hopefully I'll find the time to get around to doing that. But the truth of the matter is that this channel is just not a channel that is, you know, gonna be the first. I'm not gonna be the first on the court to give you the latest breaking candle reviews, and there are several reasons for that. One of the reasons being that I really only feel comfortable reviewing a candle once I have burned the entire candle, you know? And I watch a lot of reviewers. I appreciate reviewers that will review a candle after burning it 2 or 3 times. We need those people to be able to tell us, you know, whether the candle's giving us any strength and throw, whether it smells the same on cold as it does burning, all that good stuff. However, me, for my channel, I really like for my candle reviews to be performance-based, and I can really only do that if I have burned it all the way down to the wick nickels. You know what I mean? For me, reviewing a half-burnt candle kind of feels like reviewing a movie that I've only watched the first half of. Right? Because fragrance is so subjective. You know, in my reviews, I like to try to give everyone a decent idea as to whether or not you're gonna like the fragrance. My personal opinions aside, which I always will share, I wanna try to give you guys an idea of whether or not you like the fragrance. But what's really important to me is a performance-based review. What was the strength and throw like? Did it fluctuate? Was it a clean burning candle? Did it dud out at the halfway point? Was the last half of the candle a complete bust? You know, like that's the way that I like to be able to do my candle reviews. And so because of that, I'm never gonna be first to the mat to review a candle. And then on top of that, every Sunday I do the weekly wax wrap up, which is basically like 5 to 10 candle reviews all rolled into one anyways. So it starts to feel a little bit redundant. And so I say all of that to say, moving forward, this is probably gonna become mostly a weekend channel. However, you know, you never know what's in store in the future. Maybe I'll have a whole bunch of free time over the holidays and I'll get back into a good routine of doing a lot more. I wanted to get into some burning questions. I used to do burning questions videos pretty regularly because back when I started doing this channel, I would get tons and tons and tons of questions. If you want me to answer any of your burning questions, just email allaboutcandles@gmail.com. This first question is from Lori, and she is a new viewer, and it's the first time that she's written into me, so shout out Lori. She says, "Hi Greg, you and I have a lot of similar likes in candle scents. I would love for you to do a video on your favorite candles of all time. P.S. I bought the Goose Creek Wizard of Oz, I'll Get You My Pretty candle solely because of your review, and oh my god, I burn it for an hour at a time because I want it to last forever. These are a few of my favorite things." Ooh, Lori, that's a deep cut. You are a regular viewer. She also said, you are the only candle reviewer that actually makes me laugh. Oh, that's sweet. Thanks for writing in, Lori. I do try, like, these are candles we're talking about here. I really do try not to take myself too seriously, and I love that you loved that I'll Get You My Pretty Wizard of Oz candle. To answer your question, you would love for me to do a video on my favorite candles of all time. That I'll Get You My Pretty candle is probably pretty high up there. I've never done videos about like my top 10 fall candles, my top 20 favorite Bath & Body Works candles. I've never done videos like that because I hate choosing favorites. I'm not good at it. I don't like choosing favorites because I want to reserve the right to change my mind. You know what I mean? It's a little bit like asking me, what is my favorite Madonna song? Well, what is my favorite Madonna song? That is going to depend on what kind of mood I'm in, what the weather is like outside, what time of year is it, what kind of a frail emotional state am I in? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to choose favorites, and so I've never really done videos like that. However, I do think I'd like to do like a top 20 Bath & Body Works candle video. I think that that's something that I could deliver to you in the near future, Lori. Like, and you know, there'd have to be some parameters. Like, they need to be candles that have come out in the last like 2 or 3 years because I would want to have them with me. You know, I don't actually consider myself a candle collector. I try really hard not to buy more candles than I'm gonna burn through that year. You know, like my candle collection is really only about like 12 candles that have some sort of like an emotional quality to them, or candles that you can't get anymore. So maybe I'd share that like video with you sometime soon, like the 12 special candles that I do have in my collection. I might do that, and I might do like a top 20 like Bath & Body Works favorite candles videos of things that are like still coming out on a regular basis that people would actually be able to purchase and that I still have in my candle closet or something like that. Really good suggestion, Lori, and thank you for writing in. I appreciate that. We've got another question here from Troy. It says, "Hi Greg, love your channel. I miss your burning questions videos. You haven't done one in a while, so I thought I would send in a question in the hopes that you might start doing that segment again. However, it's not candle related, and I hope that's okay. I know that aside from candles, your favorite hobby is music and concerts. I'm wondering what you think of the new Taylor Swift album. I'm disappointed. Are you a fan? You've never talked about Taylor Swift before, and it didn't look like you went to the Eras tour. Thanks for keeping me company with your videos while I'm at work, Troy." Hi, Troy. Thanks for writing in, Troy. I am not a big Taylor Swift fan. Just quite simply because her songs and her vibe have just never really resonated with me. That being said, I did go to the Speak Now tour with my friend Amanda like a long time ago. I went to see her on the Speak Now tour and I thought she put on a fabulous show. My favorite Taylor Swift song is probably from the Speak Now album, and it's called Haunted. And when she did Haunted live, she was spectacular. And so Taylor Swift, I think, is an extreme talent, a very, very, very smart young lady. I mean, amazing talent, singing, songwriting, instruments. She does it all. She's never resonated with me. I've always felt like there's a bit of a lack of sincerity with Taylor Swift. This is just my opinion. Please don't come for me, Swifties. This is just my opinion. I've always felt like there's a bit of a lack of sincerity there. And also when it comes to her songwriting, you know, one of the big things about Taylor Swift is, you know, she puts out an album and everybody is like scrambling, trying to figure out, ooh, is this about this ex-boyfriend? There's so many Easter eggs in all of her songs. This song must be about this, and this song must be about that. I don't like listening to songs that you can't sort of put your own stamp on emotionally. Do you know what I mean? I like songwriters that are vague enough that you're not wondering which ex-boyfriend she's writing about. I don't care which ex-boyfriend she's writing about. I want this song to give me all the feels about my ex-boyfriend. You know what I mean? And so I've never gotten into Taylor Swift. I have heard a few songs from the new album, The Life of a Capitalist. I mean, I'm sorry, The Life of a Showgirl. I've heard a couple of songs from that album. I'm not extremely impressed. And I also cannot tolerate her picking on my homegirl, Charlie XCX. Because apparently there's a beef between her. I don't really think that Charlie XCX started it. I don't think that Sympathy is a Knife is a song that was meant to be a big dig at Taylor Swift, but I think Taylor Swift took it the wrong way and blew that whole situation way out of proportion. I listened to the song that she wrote about Charlie XCX. I think she's bang out of line. I love Charlie XCX. I've loved Charlie XCX ever since before Brat Summer. I've loved Charlie XCX since before her debut album, True Romance, came out. So I'm like ride or die true stan of Charlie XCX, so I'm just not supporting this Taylor Swift era whatsoever. And I think that ultimately part of Taylor's beef with Charlie XCX is that Charlie XCX is something that Taylor Swift will never, ever, ever be, which is cool. And that's what I've got to say about that. All right, one more burning question here. This one's from Heather, apropos Heather. Hey girl, Auntie Greg here to answer your question. Heather says, this is just a question, not so much in the burning department. When will you find a new show to dish and trash talk about? I so miss your reviews of Sex and the City and Just Like That. Thanks, Heather. Hey, Heather. Wonderful timing on your question. Hit me up in the comments below because we are about to get into the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City right here, right now. It has to happen. We're already like 6 episodes in. I'm obsessed. You guys know I love the Real Housewives. I think the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is one of the best franchises because this is just one of the strangest, most bizarre group of women that Bravo has ever assembled for one of these shows. I mean, we're talking high-level criminals on this franchise of The Real Housewives. And I thought that the best thing to do, since we're already like 6 episodes in, I might not do this every week, maybe every second week. We're gonna have to start having Real Housewives of Salt Lake City check-ins. Let's just start with all of their taglines this year. I'm just gonna go housewife by housewife and just kind of sum up what's been happening so far. And let's start with their tagline. So we've got Heather here, Heather Gay, and her tagline is, my nest is almost empty and this bird is ready to soar. Heather Gay is probably the most normal / nice housewife on this franchise that there is. I have to say Heather Gay is probably the only housewife here that I would actually feel comfortable like meeting and not be like scared of. You know what I mean? Like, she really seems like she's the most normal, the kindest, like has her shit together. And so she really doesn't have all that much going on, especially not this season. She has a book out called Bad Mormon, which I read, and it was actually quite juicy, and I would recommend it if you're into this sort of trash. But anyways, Heather Gay's tagline is just, "My nest is almost empty, and this bird is ready to soar." Not much to say about her so far this season. She's basically just kind of being a mediator for all of the other crazy bitches that are fighting with each other constantly. And so that brings us to Meredith. Meredith is just, she's just wild. I mean, she is one of the strangest women. One of the strangest women I've ever seen on this show before. And her tagline this season is, "While you drop lies, I'm dropping the beat." While you drop lies, I'm dropping the beat. I've been working a little bit on my Real Housewives impersonations here. And Meredith is known for, "You can leave." She's known for like two things. She's known for freaking out at that party and banishing the girls. "You can leave." And she's also known for that atrocious, they had like an Aubrey Hepburn party not too long ago. And Meredith showed up in this horrible hairdo that was just the talk of the town. I mean, every single gay on the internet was just like, who betrayed Meredith by putting her in that awful hairstyle for the Aubrey Hepburn party? I mean, oh my goodness gracious me. And you know what? She's been flying under the radar a little bit so far this season as well. She hasn't had that much to say or do. She's kind of doing the Switzerland thing and trying to like not get that much on anybody's bad side because things have just been so volatile. Like, I can't blame Heather or Meredith for wanting to stay out of the fray a little bit because we're dealing with some pretty high level deception and like straight up criminal cases here. All right, now we have Bronwyn. Bronwyn is like the newest addition to the team right now, and her tagline is, "If my closet had skeletons, at least they'd be well dressed." She's one of those housewives who has way more money than she has taste. And so she just thinks that putting on a gigantic fluffy Valentino heart costume, she just thinks that wearing the most ridiculous fashion is being fashionable, which it's not. Reminds me a little bit of Sutton from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And Bronwyn, she's pretty insufferable. She really considers herself a fashionista, although she doesn't really have that much personal taste. And her husband, Todd, is this old, grumpy fuddy-duddy who doesn't want to have anything to do with this at all. And he basically says that to her on camera. He's, "I don't know why you're arguing with all these women. This is all pretty ridiculous to me." I mean, they had them over at their lake house or something last season, and Todd pretty much wanted to kick everybody out as soon as people started fighting. I'm like, Todd, like, do you not know that your wife has just signed up for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? Her job is now to basically be petty and to fight with all of these bitches. So you better just get behind it. I've got a feeling that this show is going to ruin their marriage. I really don't think that Todd and Bronwyn are going to last. He's just so grumpy and doesn't want the cameras in his house at all. His house, by the way, is now also occupied by Bronwyn's mother and Bronwyn's daughter. And like, Bronwyn's mother, oh my God, I don't remember what her name was, but this season, Bronwyn has had a couple of conversations with her mother, who is a real scary lady, sends shivers down my spine. I mean, Bronwyn grew up in a very strict Mormon situation, and her father was like some sort of a pastor or something for their Mormon church, and Bronwyn gets pregnant when she's like 16 or 17 and shames the entire family, and her mother is like still not over it. And they've had a couple conversations this season that have actually made me feel really kind of sorry for Bronwyn, because her mother is basically literally saying to Bronwyn on camera, "You've made a lot of mistakes in your life and I'm not over it. And, you know, you really screwed things up." Like, can you imagine? I could not imagine sitting down with my mother and having my mother tell me, all those mistakes that you made in the past, they've really affected me and they're still affecting me, and I really think that you screwed your life up. I mean, that is basically what Bronwyn's mother is telling Bronwyn. And Bronwyn's husband, Todd, is considerably older, right? So she's constantly being accused of being a gold digger. And so right now, Bronwyn's father is in like a long-term like care home. Like, Bronwyn's father hasn't been on camera, but apparently he's very old and he's not doing very well. And Bronwyn has taken a lot of time to like make sure he's in like a good living situation and looking after him and helping him out financially. And Bronwyn's mother says to Bronwyn, "I'm glad you're happy and you're able to help out your dying father, because you're basically gonna have to go through that with your husband too." Horrible, scary woman. I couldn't believe it. I actually had never felt sorry for Bronwyn until I saw these conversations between her and her mother. Like, that woman scares the bejesus out of me. Holy smokes. Okay, anyways, then we've got Angie. Angie's tagline this season is, "I'm Greek and the rest is just a tragedy." Because basically Angie's whole storyline, when she's not fighting with all the housewives about their failed businesses, Angie's whole personal storyline is that she's Greek. And she keeps sitting down with her Greek father and crying about how she's Greek, but she doesn't embrace her Greek roots enough. And at one point, Angie's daughter says to her, she's like, "I really think that you're taking this whole Greek thing a little too far." Angie is Greek, and she has a couple of her own businesses, and she's constantly fighting with Lisa this season about whose business is more legit. My business has done this, and your business has done that, and you've got all these lawsuits, and I own 7 beauty salons, and I've got black credit cards. Like, Angie is really not one that I care for, and not exactly the most compelling TV either. Oh, and then we have Whitney. And Whitney's tagline this season is, "Roses are redheads, violets are blue. Don't come for me or I'll come for you." Oh my God, Whitney's actually, she seems like a fairly nice person, just as dumb as a doorknob though. She's dyed her hair red this season, which is why she says, "Roses are redheads, violets are blue. Don't come for me or I'll come for you." She's dyed her hair red. I don't think that was a particularly smart choice. I think she's probably just trying to mix things up a little bit and pretend like she's more interesting than she is. Whitney, though, I kind of feel for. I think underneath it all, Whitney actually has a good heart. She's just a dum-dum. And, you know, her and her husband, they filmed a scene a couple of seasons ago where her and her husband, they wanted to reconnect on their relationship. And they decided that the way that they were going to do that was they were going to have all the cameras come to their place and roll out tarps all over their living room floor and strip down to just their underwear, get naked in front of the cameras and do body paint on each other. They were doing like sexual body paint and like fingerprints and like got all naked and covered in paint and rolled around together. And because of that scene, Whitney's husband, who was like a high level corporate professional, because of all those naked shenanigans on the TV show, Whitney's husband lost his job. They're like, we can't have you working here. This is high level corporate business. And you're on TV rolling around naked in paint with your wife. So Whitney's husband lost his job. They lost a considerable amount of money. I mean, I think financially, they're probably in the biggest ruin out of all of the housewives on this show. And Whitney admitted it this season. They were having a very emotionally charged conversation by the campfire. And one of the things that housewives always fight about, ever since Bethany's Skinny Girl Margarita Company, and was it Sonia? Sonia did like a cheater brand of Bethany's Skinny Girl and called it Tipsy Girl. Ever since that happened in New York, one of the big plot points in Real Housewives franchises are like the legitimacy of all of their dumb businesses. You know, so many of them do fashion lines and skincare lines and all these businesses that maybe get a little bit of action for the first year or two, but then tend to like vanish away. And so Whitney's getting accused. Once Whitney's husband lost his job, Whitney started like Wild Rose Beauty and started like these weird little beauty businesses that never went anywhere. And I think that they ended up having to like basically file for bankruptcy and lay everybody off and close the business. So they're having an emotionally charged conversation by the campfire. And Lisa or Meredith is like, what about your stupid failed businesses? And I was really proud of Whitney because Whitney was like, yes, it's true. She's like, things have been really, really hard for me the last couple of years. After what's-his-face lost his job, we had nothing, and I put everything I had into these businesses. And yes, they did fail. They were failures. Does that make you feel better? I failed at business, and I let everyone down. I let myself down. I let my family down. I let my employees down. I had to fire 30 people. So yes, my business has failed. Thank you for continuing to bring it up. What do I have to say to get a little bit of sympathy and compassion around here? I was actually really proud of her. I don't think I've ever seen one of the Real Housewives just fully fess up to it before and been like, yeah, these businesses I tried to start were like a terrible idea and they kind of ruined everything. You know what I mean? So Whitney decides she wants to get back to her roots, and her roots are being wild fun Whitney, you know, because after the scandal happened with the naked body paint, Whitney decided she needed to become a professional businesswoman and start these businesses and start wearing glasses and business pantsuits. And she lost herself, and now she wants to get back to her roots. And her roots are drinking wine, dyeing her hair red, getting the pole. She's getting the pole installed in her house so that she can get back to her pole dancing hobby, and also psychic readings. So she hires this psychic Terrence to like come in, and this disastrous afternoon at a winery. There's like all these peacocks and birds, and they're all sitting at this table. Whitney has a psychic named Terrence come in, and so he's pulling the girls aside one at a time to like give them their psychic readings in like an area off to the side. Meanwhile, all the girls are having this wine tasting at the table and throwing glasses and fighting with each other and standing up, and like the people that work at the winery are like, I have a new rosé that I'm about to open if you'd like to get back to the table. And Meredith is like, you can leave. Like it's just every time these women sit down for a meal together, which is like a housewives trope. Every time these women sit down for a meal together, it just gets 10 out of 10. They're breaking things and throwing things, and they threw the horse. And at one point, the psychic Terrence tells Angie or someone that like she's an equestrian, and the psychic tells her that there's going to be a horse injury. And then at the end of the scene, Angie like takes this like ceramic horse statue and smashes it on the ground. It breaks. And Mary is like, well, the psychic was right. It just wasn't the horse he thought it was going to be. I mean, just insane. So Whitney's day at the winery of psychic readings just ends up, everybody's in tears. Everybody, one at a time, everybody storms out and it's over. And then we've got Mary. Oh my God. Mary scares the hell out of me. Mary is terrifying. Mary, I think, is not a good person. I don't think she's a good person. I think that she was running her own church for a while, and I'm pretty sure that was a big fraud. That was a big scam. She was like collecting money from all of her parishioners, and just it's her money. It's her church. She's up there at the pulpit preaching, and she does a pretty good, like, convincing job of being like the preachy, Jesus loves everyone pastor. But she was always pressuring everybody in her congregation to donate more money, give more money. Eventually, her church got shut down, and then it wasn't talked about at all for like 2 years. The church was just boarded up. Nobody went there anymore. It was just not discussed. Well, this season, she goes back into the church and she's trying to make it sound like the reason why the church shut down in the first place was because it's under construction, which none of us is buying. Nobody's buying that. I think that the heat got too hot and she had to call it a day. Mary's tagline this season is, I'm just here to eat, drink, and be merry. This woman scares the bejesus out of me. She married her step-grandfather. I mean, that's a bit of a red flag right there. And then she runs the church that I'm pretty sure is scamming people. And also, her son is struggling with addiction right now. And listen, I don't think Mary is a very good mother. I really don't. I don't think she's a good person. I don't think she's a good mother. I think that eventually we might get to add her to the Real Housewife mugshot Hall of Fame. I'm convinced that there's something very shady going on here. And I hate the fact that she's putting her son on this TV show and letting the whole world know that he has a drug addiction problem. I'm not even going to put a picture of him up on my video here because I just don't think that these women should be featuring their children on these shows. I really, really don't. It doesn't usually end well for them, especially if they're going through hard things. But there have been 2 or 3 scenes now that Mary has with her son, and her son is obviously on drugs and completely out of it. And Mary is making him go on this show and talk about it. And he's only like 16, 17, 18 years old. Like, he's still very, very young and has his whole life ahead of him. And I hope he gets better and all that stuff. I don't understand. I can't imagine being a mother of a child of this age that has a drug and addiction problem and putting him on the show, putting him in front of the camera, because you know what that means, right? You know that means that, like, Mary comes home and says to her son, who's high out of his mind, oh, the cameras are going to be here in about half an hour, and so we're going to have a conversation on camera about your drug addiction problem. And so then the cameras show up and it all plays out, and Mary, you're a mother. You are a bad mother for featuring your son on this show in this way. Yes, maybe it's a story that people can relate to and help some people feel not alone, but your son is going to have to live with this having been out there for the rest of his life. You are a bad mother and you scare the hell out of me, Mary. Oh my God. And listen, I'm very, very, very careful about judging other people's parenting skills. It is not something that I like to do. I do not ever want to judge someone for the kind of parent that they are, because I'm not a big fan of children. I like the children that are in my life. I like the kids that I do have in my life, but I never want kids of my own. And so therefore, since I'm not or don't want to ever be a parent, I really don't feel like I have the right to judge. If I am in a restaurant, an airport, an airplane, and someone's kids are just driving me nuts and being so misbehaved, I just bite my tongue and I smile, because you don't know what kind of day that family is having. You don't know the mindset that the parents have. Parenting has got to be one of the hardest jobs in the entire world, if not the hardest, and I empathize with that. But Mary, you are a bad mother. Get your son off of this show immediately. I can't even believe that you are letting your son on camera when he is in that state of mind. It's embarrassing. What a terrible person Mary is. And I will not be surprised if we can eventually add her to the Real Housewives of Bravo's Mugshot Hall of Fame. Let's talk quickly about Lisa as well. Lisa's tagline this year is, I don't go low, I go the distance. Oh, good Lord, Lisa. I mean, Lisa's just a miserable person. She really comes across as a miserable human being. It definitely sounds like she's got some fraudulent activity that she's up to as well, because a big storyline so far this season has been that all of the other housewives keep hearing about how many lawsuits Lisa's businesses are engaged in. She's got lawsuits coming up everywhere, and it's a very small circle that some of these ladies run in, and they're all basically saying to Lisa, like, we know that you're a shady businesswoman too. And Lisa is digging her heels in so hard and defending herself in such a ridiculous way that it really makes it seem like she's probably guilty. She threw this big, like, conference lunch. I don't even know what kind of businesses this bitch has. But after all of the housewives accused her of like being sued over her shady business practices, she decided to throw this big conference lunch, and she invited all of the girls into this like conference room for lunch, and she had all these billboards up. She had all these posters up on easels with details of the lawsuit that said dismissed, 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 and like pictures of her and her husband like at basketball games, and like she just has it in her head that she is better than everybody. She said to Heather Gay at one point, she goes, my life is very different from all of your guys' lives. And Heather says to her, your life isn't that much different from the rest of us, Lisa. We're all working women with children. We are wearing equally nice boots, sitting at this same restaurant talking to each other right now. Our lives are not that much different. And Lisa's like, my life is different. I hang out with Ben Affleck and Blake Lively. I'm going over to Ben and Blake's house soon. I'm like, oh my God. Lisa, we are absolutely going to be eventually adding her to the Real Housewives of Bravo's Mugshots Hall of Fame any day now. I mean, any day now. Because looming over all of this, we still feel the specter of Jen Shah. Jen Shah was on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City up until about season 3 or 4 when she got arrested for like scamming fraudulent behavior. Like Jen Shah is literally in jail right now because she was running one of those shady businesses where, you know how we're all getting all these scam calls, scam texts, click this link, invest in this. You know, we're all getting millions and billions of those scam texts these days. Jen Shah ran one of those big scam offices that was involved in this type of bull. It's partly Jen Shah's fault that we're getting all these scam messages all the time. And apparently her scammation of it all was scamming like old people out of their retirement funds. And so they were in season 3 or 4 of this show in a Sprinter van about to go somewhere for vacation. And Jen Shah's on her phone and is like, I've got to leave, guys. And just gets up and leaves out of nowhere. And all the girls are like, what the heck is happening? 10 minutes later, the FBI shows up looking for Jen Shah to arrest her. She's serving like 2 or 3 years in jail. And it just blows my mind because I couldn't imagine having the gall to go on a nationally syndicated TV show, a TV show that's shown in like 100 countries all over the world with those types of skeletons in your closet. How stupid do you have to be? How badly do you have to be famous? I mean, years and years and years ago, I auditioned several times for Big Brother Canada. I auditioned like 3 or 4 years in a row. I wanted to be on Big Brother Canada so badly. And at one point, the last time that I auditioned, I actually made it like really far in the process, I think. Like they called me back like 2 or 3 times. At one point, I did end up having like a one-on-one sort of interview with one of the producers, and then I just never heard from them again. And it didn't happen. So I never got to be on Big Brother Canada. But years later, I thought to myself, oh, thank God I wasn't on that show. Not because I have any criminal or fraudulent activity in my history, just because if you go on one of these shows, every single thing that you've ever done is going to get dug up about you and show up all over the internet. To be honest, what I would be most scared about are some of the photos that I probably have out there of myself. You know? And, you know, I've lived a pretty squeaky clean life for the most part, but when you end up on a show like this with that level of fame, every single skeleton in your closet is eventually going to come out. And the fact that these women can't see it just blows my mind. You know what else is happening right now? Dr. Wendy. Dr. Wendy from the Real Housewives of Potomac is going to be in jail very shortly here because of insurance fraud. Insurance fraud. And you know what this dum-dum did? And her name is Dr. Wendy. I don't think she's like a real doctor or anything, but she does have a doctorate in something. And I always respect that DR period. You know, if you have put in the time and work and education to get your DR period, I do believe that that should automatically command a little bit of respect. And Dr. Wendy would just go on and on and on about how smart she is, and she's a talking head on all of these news shows, and she teaches at like Harvard or something. Whatever university she used to teach at, by the way, has put out a statement saying she hasn't worked with us in a very long time because Dr. Wendy decided to commit insurance fraud with her husband and staged a fake break-in in her house. Let's get Dr. Wendy added up to the Real Housewives of Bravo Mugshot Hall of Fame because this dum-dum decided to stage a fake break-in, file an insurance claim saying that all of her jewels, all of her jewelry, all of her clothes, everything's been stolen from her house, and then she gets photographed and goes on the show wearing the diamonds and jewels that she's claiming were stolen. Busted. Like, how? Dum-dum. Dum-dum. Dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Dr. Wendy she's going to be going to jail for like 2 or 3 years. This was insurance fraud of like $400,000, and her husband was complicit with it as well. I mean, this is why I love the Real Housewives franchises so much. And I think a lot of the criticism that the Real Housewives and Bravo sort of gets is that it's like, no, none of this is real. It's all produced. It's not good for women, blah, 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 blah. Whatever, who cares? It is pretty real. It is pretty real. I listen to a lot of podcasts about these things. And I mean, my favorites are the Real Housewives of New York and the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And so you eventually start to understand it so well that you see the news unfolding before the show airs. And then you do see it unfolding on air. What always amazes me is that people are willing to put themselves in these situations when they know that they've been up to shady things. I can't even imagine being dumb enough to think that you're going to get away with insurance fraud for saying that your ring has been stolen and then wearing that ring on TV afterwards. busted. Anyways, that's all I have to say. That's all I've got for you guys this week. We are ending it here, folks. Cut, print, edit. That's all I've got to say about the Real Housewives. That's all I've got to say about candles. That's all I've got to say about concerts. Thank you so much for joining me today and putting up with me. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna try to keep this channel going as much as I can. Thank you for bearing with me. If you could hit me up with a like, comment, subscribe to my channel, that would mean the world to me. You can email your burning questions to allaboutcandles@gmail.com and follow me on Instagram at allaboutcandles. I love you for watching today, and until next time, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, you guys. Bye now.